Hey there friends, it's Laurie. Thanks so much for stopping by. Today I'm making 3 bird-inspired home decor DIYs and I used mostly Dollar Tree supplies. I really hope you enjoy making these with me, so let's get busy. Getting started, I'm using one of the wooden birdhouses from the Dollar Tree, and this one has 2 openings on the front. The roof is flat and I want to give it a little texture and an accent, so I'm using some of the Dollar Tree's wooden craft sticks. I placed one on the roof and left just a bit of an overhang. Then using my pencil, I marked the stick on the peak of the roof. Using that as my guide, I measured and cut 13 more, so I had a total of 14 sticks. To attach them to the roof, I used my Starbond thick glue, and I just love this glue because it sets up super quick. And I use it for all my natural wood projects. If you'd like to give it a try, I do have the company linked below in my description. After adding my glue to the roof, I attached the cut pieces, making sure to line up the ends with the top of the birdhouse roof. And as I was adding them, I made sure to snug them up close together. When I was done, I then followed the same instructions and added the 7 cut craft sticks to the other side. This step is completely optional and you can always just leave the roof as is. With that complete, I'm also using 2 of the Dollar Tree wooden birdhouses with 1 entrance. I'm painting each a different color and I'm using my yellow, green, and gray acrylic paint. I'm painting each of mine a different color, but you can always paint yours the same color or even make them all white. Now that all 3 are painted and they've dried, I'm giving each a coat of white acrylic paint on the roof and the base. Now that I have all my birdhouses painted and they're completely dry, I'm going to use my pencil to add on an accent. I'm using the edge of my pencil and I'm rubbing it against all sides of the roof. Once I'm done, I'm then using my finger and I'm kind of rubbing it in and smudging the pencil marks. I added some pencil marks onto the base and the sides of the birdhouse, and I rubbed those in as well. I did this for both the green and the gray birdhouses. For my yellow birdhouse, I followed the same instructions, but for the roof, I followed each individual line that I had added on, and then once again, I just smudged it all in. Now that I'm done and all my birdhouses have a gray smoky accent, I'm placing them aside to make the bases. I'll be using 3 candlestick holders and I'm making one by adding 3 wooden pieces together, and I had these all on hand. I'm attaching a chunky circle, a spool, and a candle cup holder. I'm attaching them all together using my Starbond thick glue. It sets up super quick and I love using it for all my unpainted wood projects. In addition to the candlestick holder I just made, I picked these 2 up. They're wooden at the Goodwill and I paid $2 for the set. To make them all match, I'm using my white acrylic paint and I'm giving each of them a coat. Now that they're dry, I'm using a piece of sandpaper and I'm sanding off some random places here and there on all 3 of my holders. Instead of using sandpaper, you can always use some black paint and leave some brush strokes here and there. After I sanded off the areas on my smaller holder, to darken the patches like the other 2, I ran the side of my pencil over them and then just kind of smudged them with my finger. With all the pieces complete, I'm attaching them together with my E6000. I added some to the top of each candle holder I placed on the birdhouse and made sure it was centered. Now that the glue has set up, I'm adding one of these little birds, and I found these at Michael's to the side of my yellow birdhouse. I added a dot of hot glue and then attached the bird in place. I'm using this buffalo check ribbon that I picked up at Michael's to give all 3 birdhouses a bow accent, and sometimes you can find it at the Dollar Tree. I cut a length of ribbon and then tied a simple bow around each one and then trimmed off the tails. These birdhouses are so cute and inexpensive to make, and I love the little pop of color they bring to my kitchen. If you're new to my channel and you're enjoying my video, please consider clicking on that little red subscribe button below and leaving me a big thumbs up. And if you're one of my returning friends, you know I'm always so happy to see you. To make my lemon birdhouse, I'm using this Dollar Tree house sign and removing as much of the added accents as possible. The flowers came off pretty easy, but boy, those leaves, I could not get them to move. I turned my sign over and I painted the front and the sides with some white acrylic paint. After the paint had dried, those leaves on the back were bugging me, so I found a flat blade and I chiseled most of them off. I then used a piece of sandpaper and that pretty much removed what was left. With all that finally gone, I then painted the back white. With my house painted and dry, I'm adding on my lemon accent. I'm using a lemon fabric Dollar Tree placemat. I made sure the house would fit over the design, and then I cut it free from the backing. I'm attaching the fabric to the front by first adding on a thick coat of Mod Podge. I then placed down the fabric on the front, making sure to center the lemons in the middle. After I had the fabric pressed in place, I then added another coat of Mod Podge. Once it's dry, the Mod Podge makes the fabric stiff, so I'm using my scissors and cutting as close to the house as I can. To clean up what's left, I'm using my X-Acto knife and I'm just trimming away the edges. I'm making a base and a roof for my birdhouse, and I'm using some of the tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree. For the base, I'm using 8 of the blocks, and for the roof, I'm using 12, 6 on each side. To attach the pieces together, I'm once again using my Starbond thick glue. I love it because it does set up so quick with unpainted wood, and I'm adding my 6 pieces together on one side, my 6 on the other, and the 8 on my base. If you'd like to give this glue a try, I do have the company linked below, along with a coupon code. I'm making my birdhouse with a lemon theme, but the Dollar Tree has some really pretty placemats that would also work great for this project. Now that all my pieces are attached and they've set up, I'm going to paint the base with some white acrylic paint in both of the pieces for the roof with some yellow. Now that they're dry, I'm going to add on this Farmhouse buffalo check ribbon. I picked this up at Michael's, and sometimes you can find it at the Dollar Tree. I attached it with my glue gun around all 4 edges. To attach it, I added a couple of dots of hot glue here and there to help hold it in place. Once the 2 pieces of the roof were complete, I then followed up with the base. Now that I have all 4 of my pieces complete, it's time to attach them together. I'm adding some hot glue to the bottom of my house and centering it on the base. I added some hot glue to the top of my house and centered on each roof panel. For the perch, I'm using a wooden handle from an old foam paintbrush. I'm cutting it about 2 inches in length and making sure that I'm cutting it on the end without the hole. For the faux opening, I'm using a round wooden circle, and I had picked this up at the Dollar Tree in one of their variety packs. I painted each white with my acrylic paint. To accent and give each a hint of color, I followed the edge of the circle with the side of my pencil. When I was done, I then rubbed my fingers around the outside edge and just kind of gave it a smudge. For the perch, I added some random pencil lines here and there on the sides, and then I smudged those as well. To add the faux opening, I placed a dot of glue about 2 inches down from the top and then attached my circle. To give it a bit of an accent, I'm adding a little bundle of Spanish moss to the bottom of the opening. I'm then attaching one of these little birds, and I did find this 4-pack at Michael's, onto the top of the Spanish moss. For the perch, you can drill a hole and then just kind of slide it in place, but I'm actually using my E6000 and just attaching it to the top. I added a dot onto the fabric and then just attached my perch. And now my cute farmhouse birdhouse is complete. To make my farmhouse chair, I'm using one of these pink ones. It actually came as a set of 2, and I picked it up at the Dollar Tree. I found it in the toy department, and I used its twin as a beach chair in a summer wreath I made. I'll have that linked below in my description in case you'd like to check it out. I'm using my scissors to remove the 3 center supports, but you can always use a razor blade to get a cleaner cut. With the supports removed, I'm covering the pink with my white acrylic paint. I'm using white, but I think you could use just about any color for this project. And if you had spray paint on hand, instead of painting it, you could always spray it. With the paint completely dry, I'm attaching some of this buffalo check ribbon that I picked up at Michael's onto the chair as an accent. I'm using the ribbon in place of the supports. I'm wrapping it around the chair and then cutting it to size. I'm adding some dots of glue on the legs and attaching the ribbon around the chair. I'm adding a container of flowers to my chair, and I'm using a candle cup that I already had on hand, but you can use anything at all as long as it's size appropriate. I gave mine a coat of the white acrylic paint, and when it had dried, I used the same buffalo check ribbon and attached a piece around the top. Once that was in place, I then used the same ribbon and made a simple bow. I cut the two tails to the length I wanted and then attached it to the front of my holder. For my flower accent, I'm using these pretty purple and white flowers, and I already had these on hand. I added some hot glue into my container, and then I tucked in the flowers. To add them to my chair, I simply added on a dot of hot glue and centered them in the seat. To add on my bird accent, I'm using one of these pretty yellow birds that I found at Michael's. I added a dot of glue to the back of my chair and attached the bird in place. And with that, this sweet farmhouse chair makes the perfect accent for my desk. I hope you enjoyed making these bird and birdhouse inspired DIYs with me. And if you're new to my channel and you're thinking, hey, I'd like to come back and hang out with her again, don't forget to click that little red subscribe button below and tap on the notification bell so you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. I love reading all your comments, especially the kind ones, and I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you all very soon. Bye, everybody!